It is a tradition for the Guatemalan culture to perform a welcoming dance at all major events.
Hi, my name is Sydney Cook.
And I'm Brandon Rowe.
And I'm Bradley Martin, and our culture is Guatemala.
After the arrival of Spanish in the 1500s, Guatemala remained a colony of Spain until 1821. In 1821, Guatemala won independence from Spain. Guatemala War, Civil War during 1960s, 1970s, and 1980s created a widespread death, approximately 100,000 loss of land rights, economics, destruction of the way of life. In 1996 is a peace treaty signed to resolve a 36-year-old war. The war Guatemala faced with a range of other serious issues within the inner city, and the issues was the crime and gang violence, the infant mortality and malnourishment, drug trafficking, and violence against women. Guatemala is the most populous country in Central America. The agriculture is 13.7% GDP and 37% of labor force. The richest 20% of the population accounts for 51% of the Guatemala's overall consumption. More than half of the population is below the national poverty line. 13% live in extreme poverty. And predominantly poor struggles in several areas of health and development and literacy.
Okay, 60% of the population speaks Spanish. Another 40% speaks Armenian. There are 23 different Armenian languages. Okay, Guatemalans have a great value of closeness and touching. Once they get to know you, they love to express their feelings. They like to touch and embrace when they see their significant others or relatives. Direct eye contact to an older person or a superior person is considered rude. For example, if I was talking to Brendan and he is my superior older person, I would talk to him with my head down like so. And when he speaks to me, I also will keep my eyes down like this. For example, if I was his superior, when I'm talking to him, his head would be down, and I would look at him, and I would look at this as a sign of respect. Okay, the Guatemalan culture, they prefer soft handshakes and hugs and kisses on the cheeks. Don't assume if you see Guatemalans having loud, intense conversation that they're arguing or it's a hostile environment. That's just them being passionate. That's how they are. It's similar to when you had a cookout with your family, or they watching a big game and they yelling and arguing, or they yelling with each other, and it seems they arguing, but they just having intense, passionate conversations. Guatemalans value the past and live in the present. They value the past, live in the present because the future is uncertain. Work is a part of their life. That's just their way of life. Format the name. Okay, you can fix this. All right. So work is a priority of life. The format name is followed by the father's surname and the mother's surname. For example, if Brandon and Sydney would have a kid, they would give him a first name, for example, Michael, and then his next name would be Brandon, his last name would be Sydney.
All right, so I will be talking about family roles and organization. The society and government is ruled by men, and that is called patriarchal. Men are supposed to provide for the wife and kids. They're not supposed to drink or gamble in any excess, or you do not dishonor your wife. Women are to obey their husband and prepare food and clothes. If a suitor is to ask the woman's father for a hand in marriage, the father is supposed to protect the unmarried daughter's virginity until married. In Guatemala, it's very important that the daughter is a virgin before she is married. If you did anything outside of your role, you were not accepted socially in the community. It is very hard for women to be a single parent. The pay is significantly lower than males, and the mother does not hold custody over her children. Non-traditional sexual orientation is looked down upon extremely. Some families press charges against their children for homosexual relationships because they will not be able to provide for their families. There are high rates of illegitimate childbirths in Guatemala, and marriage is a lifelong union. This can only be broken by mistreatment, cruelty, threat of murder, adultery, and or failure to provide. It is not often granted the support to get a divorce. Only adultery would result in permanent divorce. In Guatemala, women are unequal in comparison to men in legal issues. The second highest inequality rate in Latin America is in Guatemala. The two languages that are mostly spoken in Guatemala are Spanish and Amerindian languages. Guatemala is extremely poor. Most of the illegal and legal immigrants in Mexico are from Guatemala because they are looking for work. After the Civil War ended in 1996, Guatemala called for change. They wanted to include all four languages and cultures in all aspects of life in the country. The four cultures are the Ladino, the Mayan, the Xinca, and the Garifuna. Overall, Guatemala is having a hard time finding a happy medium to create equality for all cultures and ethnicities, and having education and labor equal across the board as well.
Okay. Guatemalans, black Guatemalans have black hair, dark eyes, and black skin, and average tall. They are average tall height and medium large body build. Spanish look Caucasian. They have blonde or brown hair, short height, and petite body build. And the Maya Indian have brown skin, black hair, dark eyes, short height, and they also have a petite body build. Health conditions that the Guatemalan have to face are they have a lactate deficiency, which is caused by their genetics. They also have gastritis, which is the environment and lifestyle, malaria, which is also environment and lifestyle, and tuberculosis, which is from the environment, and an eye disorder, which is caused by lifestyle.
Alcohol is always available and widely abused. In Guatemala, they use two terms in Spanish. One is bolo. Bolo means drinking too much, and bachata means a drunk man. But when they drink excessively because the stress of living in another country illegally. So you picture yourself going to another country, and at any time you can get deported. You being away from friends and family, it's a whole new start. You don't know nobody, so I know like the feeling is scary. And then the fear of not finding a job. So you go over here taking the risk of getting deported back, and you don't have no source of income. You can't take care of your family. But then it's tobacco use, alcohol use, and sexual activities higher among urban students. They lack health education, limit access to health care, and believe that illness is a punishment from God. I feel they say if they catch a disease or have some medical issue, they feel as it's a punishment from God and they did something wrong. But I look at it as they not really they trying to use God for an excuse for why they have an issue when really they lack education of health. A few women do not participate in routine screening for breast and cervical cancer, and few men do not participate in routine screening for colon cancer. And they don't participate in the routine screening because they do not participate in the routine screening because they lack the knowledge of health education. Yeah. As far as nutrition goes in Guatemala, food to Guatemalans signifies physical, spiritual, and cultural wellness. Food vary among Guatemalans based on cultural tradition and accessibility. The food that's available to Guatemalans is sea bass, flounder, tomatoes, onion, shrimp, coconut milk, and corn. Corn is highly valued in the Mayan culture and is the basis for many foods and products and for meals. Many diseases are caused by disruption in the hot and cold balance of the body. In every culture, there's a meaning to food. In Guatemala, they value food. They value the way they grow the food. They eat home-cooked meals, and they try to eat as healthy as possible, even though they don't have the resources like how we have in America. To Americans, food don't really mean nothing to us. But so to speak, we eat to eat. We would go to a fancy restaurant and spend a lot of money on a little portion of food and just do everything for the experience. Many diseases are caused by disruption in hot and cold balance of the body. And with this, when someone gets sick, whenever their body is feeling hot, when they have a fever, they eat cold food. And whenever their body is feeling cold, they eat hot food just to balance out the body.
Guatemala, when women are pregnant, they do not boast about their new infants for superstitious reasons such as the evil eye. The babies are baptized at 6 months. The mother's milk is believed to be harmful to the baby when the mother is 5 to 6 months pregnant. So when this baby is born, the parents usually feed them corn gruel and bits of tortilla. but they still nourish just not as much and for as long. And this is specifically towards the Indian culture in Guatemala. Birth control is not commonly used, and the highest total fertility rate in Latin America is in Guatemala. Induced abortion is illegal except when to save the mother's life. The majority of the Mayan culture stays at home for the 9 months of pregnancy due to superstitions. It is estimated that 59% of births are attended by traditional birth attendants or unskilled family members or friends. The most common birth attendance is a comadrona, someone who may or may not have training in midwifery. A lot of traditional ways that we do of pregnancy and childbearing practices are complete opposite of what Guatemala does. They have very poor education and poor health resources for women in Guatemala. On November 1st, it is the Day of the Dead, so families go to the cemetery to honor their deceased. This is a picture of the cemetery and what it looks like on November 1st. They decorate it and they have lots of food, and families get together and they wear masks, and it's kind of like Halloween, but it's more colorful and more symbolic in the way of celebrating the dead. Usually as soon as someone passes, the deceased is buried hours after. Someone will come right away to clean and dress the body. Possessions are usually buried with the body. The family members drink rum for their grief, and before the coffin goes in the ground, all the loved ones take a handful of dirt, kiss it, and then throw it on top of the coffin.
And in Guatemala, they go by with the Roman Catholic and mainly the Protestants. When the Spanish brought Roman Catholicism to Guatemala, some Mayans converted to Christianity, and about 20% decided not to convert. They believe that life events happen for a reason, and that's the same thing that we do in, you say in America, everything happens for a reason. Some don't pray because they feel nothing can be done to change the outcome, and I kind of agree with them. It's like it relates to my life. I'm not a strong believer in God. Not to say I'm not atheist, but I question God a lot. I feel like praying will not help you for what happened in the past. The past is the past. That's what comes from fatalism. That's the word they like to use in Guatemala. And fatalism is the belief that all events are predetermined and therefore inevitable. And that's why they say they value the past and live in the present and don't worry about the future. In this picture right here, this shows everybody that's Mayans that converted to the Roman Catholic, and they wear like a red with a yellow outline to close up every time they go to church. And whoever did not cross to Christianity do not wear this.
Guatemalans prefer medicine to be administered by hypodermic injection or intramuscular injection over oral medicine, or we're taking medicine orally. When Guatemalans seek the sick role, they first seek help from their mother or their grandmother or another elderly person. If they can't help them, then they go see a folk healer. And at last resort, they go to the hospital. Guatemalans fear the hospital because, like I said before, since they go to the hospital as a last resort, most of the time when they get to the hospital, they are very seriously ill, and most of the time they die. So the presumption in their head is people go to the hospital to die, when in all reality, if they went to the hospital before the condition got worse, they'd still be alive. Most Guatemalans engage in folk medicine practices. They use prayer, herbal teas, and poultices to treat illness. They also use food to treat diseases and illness. As Brandon said before, they believe some illness is a disruption in cold and hot, or cold and hot balance in the body. So therefore, they use the opposite food in different varieties to treat the sickness. This picture right here is a picture of where they keep all their medicine at. For example, this is like a Rite Aid, kinda, which would be in America, or CVS, and you need a prescription to get medicine. But however, in the Guatemalan culture, you don't need no prescription to get any antibiotic. So anybody can just go here and get an antibiotic from a friend or a family member. Some of the barriers to healthcare are availability. Some of the hours that the healthcare services are offered are inconvenient, And most Guatemalans, like I said before, they prioritize work. Work is a way of life in Guatemalan culture. So therefore, they do not take off time for work unless they cannot get out the bed. It's the only time they will take off work. Appropriateness: the low-cost healthcare offers limited services and dental services. Affordability. Most Guatemalans do not have health insurance and are limited to healthcare services. And transportation is very limited, so they can't even get to the healthcare services that they do have. Modern medicine provider. Some of the healthcare practitioners that are in the Guatemalan culture are modern medicine providers, and modern medicine providers are those who are educated in the medical field. For example, someone who actually went to school and got a PhD and became a doctor. That's what they describe as a modern medicine provider. Ladino providers or crusaders, they are folk healers. So that's someone they go to who can give them herbal teas or do rituals to help them to help treat their illness. Maya Indians seek care from folk healers, but they utilize modern medicine when services are offered. So they like to go to the folk healers, but if they can get to a modern medicine, someone who knows modern medicine, they will go to them. They have a great respect and admiration for healthcare providers, and when they go to the doctor, they expect them to be very professional and very well mannered. They prefer the same-sex providers, so they want a male to see a male doctor, a female to see a female doctor, but they don't have a problem with touch. So their space, they don't mind. They like their doctors to be very friendly. Go.
¿Quién quiere apoyar?
Which means one who loves to beat. And this comes from back in the time where Brandon was talking about when they was in war. For some reason, it was highly acceptable for the husbands to beat their wife.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I found that interesting, y'all.
Thank you for watching our video on Guatemala.
And if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Again, I'm Brandon Rowe.
I'm Bradley Martin.
And Sydney Cook. Thank you.
Go Lions!